My husband is a transmigrator? Reading his mind. Chapter 1. I was the standard tragic heroine of a melodrama novel. But on my wedding night, I suddenly gained the ability to read minds. My newly wedded husband, Charles, stood before the bed, changing his clothes with a cold, expressionless face. Yet, his inner voice was screaming with pure, unadulterated ecstasy. Oh my God, I scored big time. My gorgeous wife finally married me. I'm so happy I could burst. I stared at him, utterly speechless. Who on earth was this absolute goofball? From my legally wedded husband, Charles, I learned a shocking truth. Our world was actually a trashy romance novel, and I was the miserable female lead. According to the plot, I was destined to be physically and mentally tortured by the ultimate toxic alpha male, Eric. Charles, on the other hand, was a transmigrator who came into this world on a mission to rescue me. If he failed to achieve a happy ending with me, he would face an early, permanent death and never return to his original world. The first step of the novel's plot was for Eric to bankrupt my family's corporation just so he could force me into becoming his mistress. Luckily, Charles had just transmigrated into this world at that exact moment. He immediately pumped billions of dollars into my father's failing company, single-handedly bringing it back from the dead. The price for saving my family's business was my hand in marriage. To be honest, I didn't mind a corporate marriage at all. After all, Charles handed over all his credit cards the moment we signed the papers, telling me to swipe them however I pleased. Since Charles' official character design was a ruthless, workaholic CEO, there was no time for a honeymoon. But because he couldn't bear to be apart from me for even a second, he literally bundled me up blanket and all while I was still asleep. On our second morning of marriage, threw me into his car and dragged me to his office. When I finally woke up on the couch in the CEO's office, I saw him staring intensely at his computer screen, looking incredibly professional. In reality, his inner voice was simping hard. Holy cow. My wife looks drop-dead gorgeous even with sleep crust in her eyes. She's been staring at me for almost 10 minutes now. Is she falling head over heels for my hardworking, sexy CEO look? Oh, the pressure. I wiped the corner of my eye and completely ignored his delusional mental rant. Considering how decent, kind, cute, and filthy rich he was, I decided to hold back my slaps for now. I'd just keep a mental tally and settle the score whenever I was in a bad mood. Oh crap. She's coming over. She's coming over. Is she gonna catch me playing a waifu dress-up mobile game? Damn it, the developers are absolute scammers. I spent a freaking $1 million on microtransactions and didn't pull a single SSR card. I clenched my fist, biting back a massive laugh. I let out a casual cough, pivoted on my heel, walked out of his office, and told his secretary to bring him a coffee. Charles' mind immediately went wild. Wife is so thoughtful. I've been gaming all morning and my eyes are killing me. Though honestly, I'd prefer a Coke or boba. Wait, it's lunchtime. Time for a romantic date with my wife. When I walked back into the office, Charles was sitting upright in my seat, trying to look imposing. Seeing me look at him, he awkwardly adjusted the sapphire cufflinks I had gifted him. His inner voice muttered, "Why is she back so fast?" I just changed that toxic bastard Eric's name to psychotic stalker in her contacts. She won't be mad at me, right? Right on cue, my phone rang. The caller ID displayed, psychotic stalker. I raised an eyebrow and picked up. Eric's cold, arrogant voice boomed through the speaker, sounding like he was handing out charity. Woman, crawl back to me and sign the mistress contract, and I might just stop your family from going bankrupt. Beside me, Charles maintained a freezing, murderous expression, but his mind was cursing up a storm. Fucking hell. I was so happy cuddling with my wife last night that I almost forgot to crush this piece of trash. Don't worry, honey, I'll bankrupt his entire family lineage in a few days and avenge you. Chapter 2. After having lunch with Charles at an upscale restaurant, his inner monologue was still whining nonstop. Wife talked to that toxic piece of garbage for a whole 52 seconds. I am drowning in jealousy right now. I need kisses and cuddles from my wife to heal my broken heart. Fine. He had been a very good boy today, so I decided to throw him a bone. I suddenly stopped walking, dove straight into Charles' arms, and wrapped my hands around his waist. A crisp, clean scent of citrus and amber instantly filled my nose. Our eyes locked. I looked up at him and smiled playfully. Don't get the wrong idea. I'm just checking if you smell like cigarettes. Charles froze instantly. After a long pause, he smirked slightly, trying to look suave. Have you smelled enough? Meanwhile, inside his head, a massive fireworks display was going off. I don't smoke. I don't drink and am a law-abiding citizen. I am the ultimate good guy. My wife hugged me today. If we round it up, that's basically a passionate kiss. Suddenly, a violent grip grabbed my wrist from behind and yanked me backward. I nearly lost my balance and fell. Grace, how dare you cheat on me? An angry roar exploded behind us. Unsurprisingly, the lunatic who almost made me eat dirt was Eric. Before I could even stumble, Charles securely locked me against his chest with one arm. He turned around, facing the furious Eric. Eric raised his hand, aiming a vicious slap right at my face. But before his hand could land, Charles blocked it effortlessly. Without a shred of hesitation, Charles countered with a brutal, swift kick straight between Eric's legs. Eric doubled over instantly, clutching his groin in agonizing pain. Yet he still managed to bark out an arrogant threat. Where did a lowlife like you come from? How dare you hit me? Do you want to be completely erased from this city? Mr. Vance, I think you should worry about yourself instead, Charles said, his eyes scanning Eric with utter disdain. He paused, then added coldly, the weather is getting chilly. It's time for the Vance Corporation to go bankrupt. I had to admit, when Charles delivered his threat seriously, he looked incredibly attractive. That is, if I completely ignored his hilarious inner thoughts. Cheating my ass? I'm her legally wedded husband. I am her official, government-approved spouse. Even the author of this trash book can't tear us apart. Eric needs to kick the bucket ASAP. When he dies, he'll make sure nobody burns hell money for him, so he stays broke in the afterlife too. I watched as the restaurant security dragged Eric out like a dead dog. He rolled across the pavement several times before scrambling to his feet in the most pathetic posture imaginable. I retracted my gaze in disgust. The truth was, although I was the daughter of the prominent Miller family, my father had treated me like a mere bargaining chip since birth. I was forced to study 24/7 just to project the image of a flawless, elite high society lady. Before I even turned 18, my father was already scouting for a rich husband for me. Eric had been his prime choice, but Eric was too stingy, offering barely any resources while wanting to exploit my family for free. My father immediately swiped left on him. And so, my husband became Charles, who had transmigrated into this world. Ever since I started hanging out with him, my usually stoic self couldn't stop smiling, all thanks to his ridiculous, unhinged inner monologues. As our family butler put it, Our Lady hasn't smiled like an absolute idiot in a very long time. Chapter 3. In less than 3 days, Eric's businesses were hit with mysterious, heavy sanctions, and corporations across the country began openly blacklisting him. The Vance Corporation's stock plummeted into a freefall, and billions of dollars vanished into thin air like monopoly money. Eric was so swamped trying to save his sinking ship that he didn't bother me for 3 whole days. The moment he finally finished managing the chaos and managed to catch a mere 2 hours of sleep, he was slapped with handcuffs and thrown into a detention cell. Yes, Charles was behind all of this. Over the past 3 days, he had been slacking off at work while desperately trying to maximize his favorability points with me. My affection for him was skyrocketing, and in my mind, he had officially graduated from a mere business partner to a real husband candidate. Hey, you can't blame me. The guy just gave me too much money. As the weather started to warm up, Charles finally took a day off to take me abroad to see a massive rose estate he had just bought for me. However, right after our private jet's flight path was cleared, he received a phone call. The manager on the other end reported that a massive, unprecedented blizzard had hit Europe, freezing all the roses to death. He advised Charles to take his wife somewhere else for a romantic date. With no other choice, a deeply disappointed Charles decided to take me to a neighboring city where he had recently purchased a luxury hot spring resort. Coincidentally, I had been binge reading web novels lately and my body felt stiff from lying down all day, so a hot spring trip sounded perfect to relieve some fatigue. The resort was only an hour's drive away. While waiting for the car, I sat in the villa's lobby, watching the gardeners trim the bushes outside. Lately, Charles had gone completely insane, forcing the estate gardeners to trim every single bush into the shape of a heart. The sheer tackiness of it honestly baffled me. As I watched, I noticed something strange about the plants. The lawn had been vibrant and green just a few days ago, but today it looked patchy, yellow, and completely withered, as if struck by a sudden frost. Even more bizarrely, the crabapple trees outside that had been in full bloom just days prior were now completely bare. Thinking my eyes were playing tricks on me, I stepped outside to get a closer look. Just then, a stretched limousine pulled up by the fountain. Charles stepped out, opened the door for me, and asked, "What are you looking at, honey?" Meanwhile, his inner voice was dripping with jealousy. My wife has been staring at that stupid tree for exactly 314 minutes. I'm so jealous. I've lost my crown. I'm just a miserable, abandoned puppy in the rain. Distracted by his mental whining, I stopped looking at the tree, took his hand, and climbed into the car. Halfway through the drive, I felt a sudden chill, so Charles wrapped a thick, plush blanket around me. Suddenly, a loud thud echoed as a massive white object slammed into the car roof. Seconds later, a torrential downpour of giant white spheres began raining from the sky. The weather had turned completely apocalyptic. Out of nowhere, a massive hailstorm broke loose under a clear sky. I watched in shock as giant chunks of ice shattered the windshield of the sedan in front of us. Drivers on the highway began panicking, desperately swerving to find shelter, causing a massive traffic jam. "Boss, these hailstones are huge. Are we still heading to the resort?" The driver asked, his voice trembling violently as we stopped at a red light. My mind was filled with suspicion. Before Charles could even open his mouth, I firmly commanded, "Turn back. We're going home." By the time we returned to the estate, Eric had already been released from custody. The television was broadcasting news segments completely whitewashing his record, and the Vance Corporation stock was miraculously rebounding at supersonic speed. The giant corporations that had just broken contracts with Eric were now shamelessly crawling back to his side like mindless sheep. Chapter 4. Following his release, Eric launched a ruthless, all-out assault against Charles' conglomerate. Unfortunately for him, Charles Corporation was entirely bulletproof. They never evaded taxes and donated billions to charitable organizations every single year. Furthermore, the employee benefits at Charles' company were legendary. The working hours were strictly 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. with a mandatory 2-hour lunch break. The office featured a free, luxury buffet cafeteria stocked with imported fresh fruits and gourmet ingredients, open 24/7. When it came to nurturing elite talent, Charles' company was second to none. Unlimited portions, absolute luxury. The company's reputation was flawless from top to bottom. It stood before Eric like an unbreakable fortress. As the two corporate giants clashed over the next 3 months, freak natural disasters across the globe began escalating at a terrifying rate. City C, a famous tourist paradise known for its eternal spring and rare rainfall, suffered a relentless 2-week downpour, causing rivers to overflow and triggering massive floods. City D, a region that had never experienced a single earthquake in recorded history, was struck by a magnitude 6.0 quake in the middle of the night, followed by violent aftershocks. City A was swallowed by an impenetrable, toxic fog. City E was buried under a catastrophic sandstorm. City N was battered by a Category 5 typhoon. City F was hit by a massive tsunami. And our city, which was supposed to be entering the peak of summer, was suddenly buried under a historic, freezing blizzard. Across the globe, the situation was even worse. Countries were experiencing severe droughts, extreme heat waves, freezing cold snaps, torrential flash floods, tornadoes, giant hail, severe frost, acid rain, and volcanic eruptions in a chaotic, non-stop loop. It had been nearly a week since I last heard Charles non-stop. Chaotic mental chatter next to me, and I was genuinely missing it. At the start of the anomalies, he would still smile and jokingly tell me that once the weather cleared up, he would take me to see the ocean of roses. But as time went on, Charles began returning home later and later. The bed beside me would turn ice cold before dawn. For the past few days, he had literally moved into his office, working around the clock to organize emergency rescue supplies for disaster-stricken areas. Aching with worry, I went to his office to check on him. His secretary was about to wake him up from a deep sleep, but I waved her off and stepped inside quietly. Over the last 2 months, Charles had worked himself to the bone. His hair had grown past his ears. His face was covered in stubble, and he was sprawled out on the sofa, looking completely drained of life. I reached out, gently rubbing the deep crease between his eyebrows. The movement woke him. Before he even opened his eyes, he asked in a raspy, exhausted whisper, "Where did another disaster hit?" I pressed my fingers gently against his lips. Charles snapped his eyes open, and I looked down at him with a warm smile. "Do you want to sleep a bit longer?" I asked softly. "No, I'm awake," he murmured. Despite saying he was awake, he sat up and immediately leaned his head against my shoulder, closing his eyes to rest. Hee hee, wow. Hee, my wife is literally a goddess. She smells so amazing and feels so soft. Just one sniff is enough to extend my lifespan for the whole afternoon. A certain someone was throwing a full-blown rave party inside my head. If it were anyone else, I would have chucked them into a sewer by now. "You're exhausted. Just rest," I said, gently massaging the back of his neck. Charles didn't say a word out loud, but his mind drew a long line of pure bliss. A wife's massage skills are heavenly. I seriously wanted to punch him. "Wife, I'm not tired at all. How about we do something?" Nothing below the neck can be described. Defeated, Charles pulled a bottle of my favorite yogurt from the mini fridge and twisted it open. He handed the bottle to me, keeping the cap in his hand. He looked at me with puppy dog eyes and thought, "Wife, can I lick the yogurt off the cap?" I finally lost it and slapped the back of his head. Why on earth did he need to ask me permission for that? While the entire planet was falling apart, Charles Corporation was exhausting its massive fortune to provide relief funds globally, whereas Eric was shamelessly profiting off the global crisis. Eric eventually sent over an invitation for his company's 30th anniversary gala. Along with a petty note, "Charles, if you don't bring grace, you're an absolute coward." This single sentence instantly triggered Charles into a childish rage. And he spent days aggressively cursing Eric out in his mind whenever he was next to me. "Oh, you want to trigger me? I'll curse your entire family tree out of existence. I hope you choke on your food, get scolded to death. Get scalded by soup, choke on water, drown in the bath. Trip on a flat road, roast to death in winter, and freeze to death in summer." Seriously, which open sewer forgot to put its lid back on and let Eric crawl out again? Did Eric accidentally flush his brains down the toilet when he went to the restroom? How dare he talk to his grandpa like that? I am the master of my own life. And if Eric keeps talking smack, I'll put him 6 feet under immediately. Despite all the heavy cursing. Once Charles finished his mental rant, he still packed me into the car and drove us over to completely crash Eric's party. Chapter 5. I felt incredibly unwell today. The closer our car got to the venue of Eric's gala, the weaker and sorer my entire body became. "Charles, maybe we shouldn't go tonight," I murmured weakly, leaning against his chest with my eyes closed. Charles immediately slipped his warm, large hand into mine, locking our fingers tightly. He comforted me softly, then wait for me in the car. "I'll just go inside, say a quick word to a few business partners, and come right back." His face remained calm, but inside his head, he was aggressively stabbing a voodoo doll of Eric. Eric is an absolute curse. He's like a walking biohazard. My wife was perfectly fine a minute ago. If we weren't living in a civilized society, I would have pulled out a 400-meter sword and sliced him into pieces. After Charles left, I remained in the parking lot with the driver, waiting for his return. I rolled down the window and stared at a nearby crabapple tree. The flower buds on the branches were falling to the ground in droves. Suddenly, the dense trees began shaking violently, as if hit by a massive gale, making a terrifying rustling sound. In less than 10 seconds, a deafening roar of thunder boomed from the distance, followed by a blinding flash of lightning. The earth began to buckle and shake violently. The sound was like a massive beast awakening, a demon roaring from the abyss. Massive skyscrapers began tilting at bizarre, impossible angles, and countless panicked people began screaming and running for their lives. The apocalypse had officially arrived. A terrifying realization suddenly flashed through my mind. Quick, quick, quick. Ma'am, we need to evacuate immediately. The driver shouted in absolute panic. But my instinct had already made the decision for me. I quickly swapped into my sneakers, threw the car door open, and said calmly, "You drive out first. I have to go back and find Charles." "Understood, ma'am. Please, both of you must make it back safely." I nodded firmly, slammed the door, and dashed back in the direction Charles had gone. Suddenly, a slimy, snake-like hand violently grabbed the hem of my dress. "Grace, did you come back to find me?" I turned around and saw a completely disheveled, mud-covered Eric. "Get your hands off me." I recoiled in absolute disgust, smacking his hand away, and kept moving forward to find Charles. "Charles is already dead. Follow me if you don't want to die here." Eric snarled, stepping forward to violently grab my wrist. Without a second thought, I drove my free elbow violently into Eric's abdomen. He gasped in agonizing pain and dropped his grip. Before he could grab me again, I executed a swift sweep kick, knocking him flat onto the ground. I pinned him down, and as he thrashed around wildly, I cold-bloodedly twisted both of his wrists until they cleanly dislocated from their sockets. Disgusting trash. I pulled out a wet wipe, thoroughly cleaned my hands, threw the soiled wipe onto his groaning body, and walked away without looking back. Had I bothered to look back, I would have seen a strange, multicolored beam of light manifest out of thin air and shoot straight into the space between Eric's eyebrows. Chapter 6. By the time I found Charles, he was running out of the collapsing structure with an injured person slung over his back. "Why did you come back?" Charles gasped, his voice raspy and his lips trembling with absolute terror for my safety. "To find you, obviously. While looking for you, I already called home and the company to secure everything. The private rescue teams are on their way." I immediately helped Charles move the unconscious victim to an open clearing. 5 minutes later, after the emergency rescue personnel arrived, Charles and I finally boarded a secure vehicle and headed home. A magnitude 6.0 earthquake had completely devastated the city, leaving the outside world in absolute chaos. Worried about Charles' safety, I made him stay inside the estate. Early the next morning, government officials arrived to coordinate emergency logistics with Charles. I stood in the courtyard, directing the estate staff as they moved truckloads of survival supplies into our massive underground bunker. The entire villa had been custom-built with military-grade reinforcements, making it completely immune to extreme natural disasters. After dinner, Charles and I sat together watching the news. My usually cheerful husband was completely silent, his mind an eerie, hollow blank. He was clearly checked out. Right then, the television anchor broke in with a terrifying, historic announcement. "We have a breaking update. As of this afternoon, temperatures across the equatorial regions have plummeted drastically. Heavy snowfall is projected tonight. All citizens are advised to." The world was dying piece by piece. A strange sensation flickered through my mind, and my intuition told me that I was forgetting something monumental. During our first day of lockdown in the villa, I spent the afternoon learning how to fold dumplings from our elderly cook, Nanny Martha. Nanny Martha was the oldest employee in the house. She and her mother before her had cooked for the family for generations. After her mother passed away, Martha became the head chef, taking care of the household's meals to this day. She treated me with immense warmth, reminding me deeply of my late grandmother. The dumplings I folded were packed with filling and had thin skins. Nanny Martha praised me for being a fast learner, and that night, Charles devoured several bowls of them like a starving wolf. Ever since the news reported snow at the equator, the government had been forcefully evacuating citizens into subterranean super shelters. A few citizens who violently resisted froze to death on the streets within hours, successfully terrifying the remaining population into compliance. Once the evacuations were complete, a global drop in temperature triggered catastrophic blizzards. The entire world was locked in ice, completely devoid of visible life. We didn't go to the public shelter because our villa was equipped with a custom solar thermal climate control system that kept the indoor temperature perfectly steady. With enough stockpiled rations to last us at least 3 years, we could comfortably stay inside our private sanctuary and wait out the apocalypse. During this period, I mastered Nanny Martha's culinary secrets, cooking a wide array of gourmet meals for Charles. The guy actually gained 10 pounds, and his defined abs were practically vanishing. Charles eventually dragged me to the home gym to exercise, whining that he didn't want us to turn into round spheres. Nanny Martha would watch us laughingly, saying that eating more was a blessing, and hinting that Charles and I needed to work harder to give her a chubby little grandson. I blushed furiously. Charles' inner voice groaned. "Thanks, Nanny. I feel personally attacked." The peaceful days bled into one another until one morning, Nanny Martha didn't wake up to prepare breakfast. The butler went to her room to check if she was under the weather, only to find her burning up with a severe, delusional fever. He immediately gave her fever reducers while another maid applied cold compresses, but her high fever fluctuated for days, refusing to break. On the 7th day, Nanny Martha unexpectedly woke up incredibly early and prepared a massive, lavish breakfast spread for the entire household. The weather that morning was beautiful. The blizzard outside had paused, and warm sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating Nanny Martha's silver hair. "Nanny Martha, you're feeling better?" I exclaimed happily as I walked downstairs, seeing her stirring a pot of my favorite savory porridge. "Much better, sweetheart. I promised I'd make your favorite porridge a few days ago, and I couldn't bear to just lie around." "Come, sit down and eat," she replied, her eyes crinkling with deep warmth. After breakfast, she sat with me, chatting and reminiscing for a long time. But as the medication wore off, she grew visibly exhausted. I gently told her to go back to bed and rest. She looked at me with immense maternal love, nodded, and walked back to her room. For lunch, I prepared her favorite braised fish and went to her room to wake her up. I called her name dozens of times, but there was no response. She was never going to wake up again. Following Nanny Martha's passing, the remaining staff inside the villa began developing fevers one by one, collapsing by the day. Fate loved playing with human hearts. It crafted a cruel illusion of safety, only to violently rip it away and plunge you into absolute agony. It derived pleasure from watching you get torn apart by grief, isolated and helpless. It was truly evil. I felt utterly small and powerless, forced to watch the people I cared about die right before my eyes, unable to do a single thing to save them. Waking up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night, I wrapped my arms around myself, trembling with a paralyzing terror that I would lose Charles next. "Charles, I'm so scared. Are you going to die too?" My heart ached violently as I sobbed against his chest. I had dreamed that he died protecting me. Charles didn't have his usual goofy, playful expression. He looked at me with an incredibly profound, tragic devotion, gently cupping my face with his hands. "No. This time, I will stay with you forever. Don't be afraid, I am right here with you." Chapter 7. After burying the elderly butler, the massive villa was left completely empty, occupied only by Charles and me. Our fragile peace was shattered once again. Eric arrived at our front gates with an armed squad, acting under official orders to requisition our survival supplies. They called it a requisition, but it was nothing short of armed robbery. After a tense 3-day standoff at the gates, Eric ordered his men to aim high-caliber weapons directly at us. Not wanting me to get caught in the crossfire, Charles had no choice but to open the doors. We were stripped of everything and relocated to a public refugee shelter. Our assigned room was a squalid box measuring less than 5 square meters. It was completely bare, littered with other people's discarded junk and trash, and a rancid stench filled the air. As we walked through the corridors, people recognized us, spitting on the ground and jeering, calling us greedy capitalists and societal parasites. Meanwhile, Eric, who had gained glory by handing over our dozens of tons of elite survival supplies to the military, was being hailed by the masses as the savior of humanity. The sheer hypocrisy of human nature was utterly laughable. Before the lockdown, Charles had anonymously donated thousands of tons of rations and medical supplies to these exact public shelters. He never boasted about it, nor did he seek praise. He simply did what he believed was right. Yet these exact people, who were currently surviving on the very food Charles had funded, were aggressively slandering him, calling him a blood-sucking criminal. My fury reached a boiling point. What right do you people have to talk about Charles like that? Did the food he donated feed you so well that you have nothing better to do than spew filth from your mouths? Look at you, running your mouth. You look like a brainless, malicious parasite who got reincarnated without a frontal lobe. Let me guess, your family tree is just a straight line, isn't it? I opened my mouth and unleashed a relentless storm of insults at the crowd. The moment I threw my morals out the window, nobody could touch me. These ungrateful leeches forced my hand. Honestly, speaking my mind felt absolutely amazing. The shouting match escalated from morning until night. Several former employees from Charles' company heard that we were being targeted and immediately dragged their extended families into the fray, turning the shelter into a massive verbal battlefield. The chaos reached a climax when Eric showed up with a massive entourage of armed guards. Taking advantage of the dense crowd, I grabbed a rotten egg from a nearby trash bin and hurled it directly at his head. Yes, I did it on purpose. I knew this absolute clown was the one instigating the public hostility against us from behind the scenes. Grace, it's not too late for you to apologize. Eric looked like a completely different person. He calmly pulled out a silk handkerchief and methodically wiped the raw egg from his face, his expression unnervingly placid. I held Charles' hand, standing shoulder to shoulder with him. I smirked. Apologize for what? It was just a slip of the hand. Mr. Vance, as the great savior of humanity, surely you possess the magnanimity to let it slide. Fearing that Eric's guards might harm us, the loyal former employees of Charles' company immediately formed a human wall in front of us, acting as our shield. Eric didn't seem surprised by their loyalty. Grace, come back to my side. I will grant you the highest status and luxury. I will never hurt you again. He genuinely believed his grand offer would sway me. Never. Not in a million years. I stared directly into Eric's eyes. I saw absolute obsession and possessiveness, but there was not a single drop of genuine love. Eric was incredibly delusional. He assumed I was a superficial creature who, like my father, would eagerly kneel and grovel at his feet just to survive. But he was dead wrong. I would never be deceived again. Because I already had someone who respected me, loved me, and was willing to spend his entire life protecting me. A flicker of complex emotion crossed Eric's face. He let out a low, regretful sigh, burying his obsession as his expression returned to a cold calm. For a split second, I actually caught a hint of pity in his eyes. Grace, you've grown much smarter in this lifetime. But you still stand absolutely no chance of winning. Leaving behind that cryptic, chilling sentence, Eric turned and left with his men. I narrowed my eyes at his retreating figure, feeling a sudden wave of disorientation. What on earth did he mean by this lifetime? Before I could ponder further, an even more alarming realization hit me. Ever since we entered the shelter, Charles had been incredibly quiet. More importantly, I could no longer hear his inner thoughts. My mind-reading ability had completely vanished. Chapter 8. After clearing out the small room with the help of Charles' former employees, they secretly left us a massive stash of hidden rations before heading back to their quarters. Charles was currently busy fitting a clean sheet over our thin mattress. I looked at him with deep worry. "Are you feeling sick?" Charles turned around, his eyes widening slightly in surprise. The next second, he forced his signature, goofy grin. "Me? Sick? No way. I'm as strong as an ox." My heart sank heavily. We had been together for so long. Did he really think I couldn't tell when he was faking it? I was absolutely certain Charles was hiding something massive from me. Over the next few days, Charles acted completely normal, eating and drinking without a care in the world. The extreme weather outside even began to stabilize slightly, prompting many restless refugees to form groups and venture out for walks. Charles grabbed my hand and took me out for a stroll as well. "Wife, look. A little red flower actually managed to bloom here." Charles shouted excitedly, plucking a tiny wild flower that had sprouted through the thick winter snow and holding it out to me. I stared at the thumb-sized red flower, lost in thought. It looked like a solitary beacon of color in this bleak, dead world. "Everything is going to be fine," Charles whispered softly. "Once the world heals, it'll take you to see that endless ocean of roses I bought for you." The world around us was a vast, frozen wasteland, buried under endless white snow and howling winds. Charles unwrapped his thick gray scarf and gently wound it around my neck, carefully tucking a stray lock of hair behind my ear. His love felt like a blazing fire, radiating through the freezing air. Moved by the intensity of the moment, he leaned down just as I stepped up on my tiptoes. In my heart, I silently prayed that tomorrow would bring beautiful weather, and that more little red flowers would bloom across the earth. When we returned to our room, we discovered that every single scrap of our hidden food had been stolen. With no security cameras around, there was no way to pinpoint the thief. We had no choice but to swallow the bitter loss. Fortunately, the shelter administration still distributed basic daily rations, so we wouldn't immediately starve. A few days later, a small fraction of the refugees began running high fevers. Initially, people ignored it, assuming it was a common cold. But within 48 hours, those infected mutated into bloodthirsty monsters, violently attacking anyone in sight and triggering mass panic. The military immediately stepped in, ruthlessly executing the mutated infected. It felt like the ultimate cosmic joke. Then, Charles started running a fever. The shelter officials conducted strict temperature checks every morning and night. Hiding it was completely impossible. Chapter 9. "Miss Miller, we are doing this strictly for your own safety. Please let go of the stretcher." The shelter guards were attempting to forcefully move an unconscious Charles to the newly established quarantine zone. I threw my entire body over his stretcher, gripping the frame with a white-knuckled death lock. "No, you can't take him away. I can take care of him myself. He's going to recover, I know it." I refused to let him out of my sight. There was no way I was letting Eric get his hands on him. "Miss Miller, please don't make this difficult for us," the commanding officer said, looking deeply conflicted. Suddenly, a short, middle-aged woman squeezed through the crowd. Screaming at the top of her lungs, "Officer, you can't be soft-hearted. If this man turns into a monster and goes on a rampage, he'll slaughter us all." The surrounding crowd immediately began chanting in agreement. "Exactly. We're talking about the lives of hundreds of thousands of people here. Why don't they just execute him right now? Charles spent years bleeding us dry with his corporation anyway. He deserves to die." The former employees of Charles' company moved forward, preparing to form another defensive barrier around us, but I looked up and silently shook my head at them. I couldn't let them ruin their lives for us. With no one left to speak for us, I closed my eyes in bitter despair as the cruel accusations echoed through the hall. "Can I just take him and leave the shelter?" I asked, my voice trembling. No one dared to answer. "I will leave behind everything we own. Just let me take him away, please." I yelled at the crowd. "Absolutely not, Grace. You belong to me in this life, and even in death, your ghost belongs to the Vance family. Charles is practically a corpse anyway, just give up." Eric pushed through the crowd, striding confidently toward me. He grabbed my arms, violently wrenching me away from Charles' body. "Get your filthy hands off me. I never married you. Charles is my husband." I screamed, fighting him with every ounce of strength I had left. Eric's face contorted into cold rage. And he roared right into my face, "Grace, you were destined to be mine from the very beginning. Charles is the thief who stole you away from me." Before I could strike back, a heavy blow from Eric's guard knocked me into complete darkness. When I finally regained consciousness, it was already the evening of the following day. Charles was nowhere to be seen. Finding myself alone in a locked room, I immediately found a sharp paring knife and hid it up my sleeve for self-defense. As I crept toward the door to plan an escape, I ran directly into the person who had come to rescue me was Charles' loyal secretary, Chloe. Chloe informed me in a frantic whisper that Eric was already organizing a forced wedding ceremony between him and me. The guy was an absolute psychopath, completely obsessed with ruining my life. "Ma'am, everyone is currently distracted drinking and feasting in the main hall. You need to take the boss and run right now." The escape went incredibly smoothly. By the time Eric realized I was gone, I had already smuggled Charles back to our fortified villa and hidden him inside a secret underground panic room. Eric brought tracker dogs and searched the estate top to bottom, but they found absolutely nothing. Chapter 10. The world outside continued its rapid decay, as if a cosmic entity was hellbent on obliterating our existence. I stopped caring about the world. I stayed by Charles' side, watching him sleep, firmly believing that he was just exhausted and would wake up fine after a long rest. Charles slept peacefully, but his skin was already breaking out in terrifying, mottled blue and purple patches of mutation. When our little wild red flower was down to its very last petal, Charles finally opened his eyes. "You've been asleep for so long," I whispered, tears welling in my eyes. "Is there anything you want to eat?" "I want to eat the dumplings you folded," he smiled weakly. I immediately went to prepare the meal. He clumsily helped me roll out the dough, and I patiently showed him how to fold the wrappers. His hands were stiff, and every single dumpling he made burst at the seams, but I couldn't bring myself to criticize him. Just like old times, Charles devoured several large bowls. Afterward, he gently washed my hair, blew it dry, and picked out a beautiful dress for me to wear. Then we sat together and watched a movie. Halfway through the film, a heavy drowsiness overcame him. He rested his head against my shoulder, murmuring softly, "Wife, I'm so incredibly sleepy. Can you just stay awake a little bit longer, please?" I begged, choking back my tears, unable to look at his fading expression. My vision blurred completely as heavy tears cascaded down my face. A warm, trembling hand reached up, gently wiping the tears from my cheek. "Don't cry," Charles whispered, his voice so faint it felt like it would dissolve into the air. He slowly gathered his remaining strength to pull me into a tight embrace. Gently patting my back, "It breaks my heart to see you cry. Everything was supposed to be getting better. Why is this happening?" I sobbed violently. I couldn't understand why fate insisted on stripping away everything I loved. If I cherished something, the universe snatched it away. And now I couldn't even keep Charles. The small red flower dropped its final petal, and right at that moment, Charles' breathing stopped. He passed away peacefully, without leaving behind a single final word. Suddenly, the earth beneath us buckled in a cataclysmic tremor, and the reinforced concrete walls of the villa began to fracture with a deafening roar. I tightly wrapped my arms around Charles' rapidly cooling body, gently closed my eyes, and let go. The moment my eyes closed, an invisible, colossal force accelerated the collapse of the universe. The entire simulated world shattered into billions of digital dust particles, dissolving into absolute darkness. Epilogue. Star Era Year 397, Imperial Capital Anomaly Data Monitoring Bureau. Welcome back, Alpha Source Code Grace. The mission to eliminate the Anomaly Core mainframe has been successfully executed. 18,766,749 subworld timelines have been fully restored and patched. As the cold, synthesized electronic voice finished its report and prepared to log off, I stepped forward and cut it off, asking urgently, did Charles follow me through all those worlds? The spherical electronic AI orb paused in surprise. After scanning the data matrix for a few seconds, it materialized a sleek data wristband and handed it to me. Commander Grace, I am restricted from disclosing that information directly. It is best if you review the data logs yourself. Once the AI dissolved back into the mainframe, I snapped the wristband onto my arm. The heavy locks on my sealed memories instantly shattered, and a flood of lifetimes rushed into my consciousness. Charles was my ex-boyfriend. After our breakup, I had accepted the high-risk mission to eradicate the anomaly data corrupting the multiverse. In the first timeline, I entered the world, but my deployment was too loud. The anomaly core detected my presence and nearly wiped my consciousness from existence. In the second timeline, Charles broke protocol and followed me into the simulation, manifesting as my older brother. When the anomaly core targeted me again, he sacrificed his life to save mine. In the third timeline, he became my childhood best friend. In another timeline, he was my college senior. Eric, the avatar of the anomaly, attempted to permanently trap my consciousness inside a tragic romance simulation, turning me into a permanent NPC. To protect me, Charles forcefully extracted my memories, shielding me from the core's tracking. He took my place, single-handedly fixing the corrupted world loops while trying to obliterate the sub-timeline from within. Sensing the massive threat Charles posed, Eric began draining the world's raw processing energy, attempting to permanently delete Charles' soul. At the absolute final second, Charles successfully located Eric's core source code anomaly, completely detonating the entire subworld. Before the simulation collapsed, he transmitted the exact coordinates of the anomaly core mainframe back to the Imperial Bureau. The Bureau immediately launched a massive data warhead, completely vaporizing the anomaly mainframe once and for all. I had always believed that I was a lone wolf, surviving and completing these brutal missions entirely on my own strength. But the truth was, in every single lifetime, Charles had always materialized right on time, dying over and over again just so I could live. I was never the powerful one. He was simply always there, acting as my eternal shield. The memories of losing him across countless worlds began to stack up in my mind, and tears blurred my vision once more. Charles had never stopped loving me. He was simply the type of guy who expressed his love through absolute action rather than empty words. He remembered that I loved playing automobile games, so he secretly loaded funds into my account to help me pull cards. Even though his luck was so notoriously terrible that he never managed to secure an SSR. He remembered that I suffered from severe night terrors, so he would read me fairy tales to fall asleep, though he always messed up the plots, turning them into hilarious horror stories that had me laughing and diving into his arms for warmth. He remembered how much I loved roses, so he bought an entire planet dedicated to cultivating roses and legally transferred ownership directly to my name. As all the puzzle pieces clicked together, my heart ached with an intense, overwhelming longing. The desperate desire to see him again, to hold him again, exploded within me. I broke into a full-blown sprint. I ran past the massive holographic trees, past the towering skyscrapers of the Imperial City, and through the sea of starships. And there, standing beneath a massive digital crabapple tree, was a young man clad in a flawless white suit. As if sensing my approach, he turned around. A brilliant, breathtaking smile erupted across his face, and he warmly extended his hand toward me. Hey, wife. Ready to go see that ocean of roses together? Bonus Easter egg. Timeline 1. Inside a completely ordinary, messy bedroom, a web novel author typed the words "the END" into her word processor. A satisfied smile spread across her face as she shut her laptop, climbed into bed, and finally caught up on her desperately needed sleep.